Hi everyone. This week I am going to be disassembling and reassembling my Ruger GP100. It's just going to be kind of a disassembly and reassembly. Uh, Next week I want to get into the cleaning and help smoothing it out a little bit, trick it out just a little bit inside, not a lot, just to make it a little smoother maybe. I don't do a lot with the gunsmithing because if you do gunsmithing over the internet, on YouTube or something like this, and you tell somebody to do this to their pistol, rifle, revolver, whatever it is, and they actually do it, and they do it wrong, and they kill themselves or somebody else, guess who they can come back on? And they've done it before. A guy in Florida got sued for I don't know how many millions, and they won the case. So anyway, I won't go into a whole lot. Nothing to really change anything. Just enough to kind of smooth things out, the trigger pull, maybe a hammer, things like that. But and I'm going to go this week. I'm going to go into a little bit of the tools, the proper tools for disassembly and reassembling firearm. Well, I guess we'll get to it, and we'll start disassembling my revolver. Okay, everyone, well, let's start disassemble, but we're going to do a thing on screwdrivers. I would say 95 to 98% of all the screws you're going to find on a firearm are going to be a machine screw. Now, that means that your normal, everyday, go to Walmart and get a screwdriver is not going to work. It's got too much of a taper. And therefore sheet metal screws, wood screws, just plain old screws. I'll have pictures showing the difference between the two, close-ups, real nice close-ups of these. What you need is a hollow ground. That's this one here. Straight sides up for a short distance, and then it rounds out. So let's get on with it. And like I said, there'll be pictures of the differences and why. A picture of the screw too. And why your tapered will not fit right. Now this grip is a one-piece grip. Some of the grips on the Ruger GP100s are a three-piece, and they have a wooden piece on each side with a screw going this way. This one's a one-piece, nice rubber grip, nice and big and soft. Now you get onto the hammer strut and the spring. Now they usually give you a disassembly pin right there. I really don't like using them, and I'll show you why. You have to cock your hammer, and then you use this pin to go through this hole, and you let down your hammer and it captures the strut so it doesn't expand out. Well, I have trouble just like that, dropping it and going down through. What I use is the good old paper clip, the big ones. Set it in there. It's there. It ain't going to go anywhere. Oop. And then you let your hammer down. And there it is. Pull your strut out. Of course, you can pull your strut out. And that's the end of the strut right here. It fits in the hammer, and it actually pivots, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Now, the next thing is is to take the hammer out. You can just give that pin a push. Sticks out on the other side. Now I like to pull the trigger, and that pin just slides right out, and your hammer just slides right out. Now here's the thing, this strut fits up into this hammer, and it pivots as the hammer goes back. It pivots inside, compresses the spring so it can release and throw the hammer forward. Now, what they want you to do with these is to take the end of that strut and go down in here and push this pin, a pin right there, I hope you can see it, in to release the trigger mechanism and the trigger guard. I say don't do that, because it will mar up the end of this, and you want that as smooth as it can be. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. What I use is I use an Allen wrench, and I go in here sideways. And well, I know I do it. And you see how it breaks? You have that gap there. I just use this as a lever, push on that pin, and it takes it right out. Then what you do is you take this and you pull, and it pulls the whole trigger mechanism out with the trigger guard. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to piddle around and lose these pieces, especially this one here. That's your cylinder stop. Every time the cylinder moves, it's cocked, its slot stops in one of these slots. If that one comes out, there's a detent pin in the bottom of this, and if that flips out, that pin can go zoom, gone. So you'd have to buy a new one before you can put this thing back together. It doesn't happen a lot, but that thing can come out if you're playing around and you're upside down. So watch it real careful. This here too, your safety bar, that can come out real easy. Make sure it's tucked in there real good and moves real good. And now we take the cylinder out, just like you're going to load or empty it, and then it just slides right out. Now what holds this in is a little detent pin right here. Let me get here, right there, and that goes up inside this, which holds it together. It will keep this from falling out. Very simple and very neat. I think it's an ingenious way to have it. Now, when you have it apart, you can inspect it, see if there's anything that you can tell that's really worn or broke or cracked. Same thing with the hammer. Not a whole lot of parts to this one, which is really nice. Now, put her back together. We will just reverse the process. This slides in. Now this is your cylinder and crane assembly. Again, lock it in place, make sure everything goes around good. Now here's the trickier part. Is to get everything that you got there that sticks straight down in this at the right angle. And what I do is I get it so it's touching here, and then I turn it upside down, or I turn it right side up, and look inside and make sure that the transfer bar, which it is not, is right there. It is. The transfer bar. Can you see it inside here? Right there. And make sure that it is loose and moving. Otherwise it'll keep you from getting this put together. And then you just snap it closed. And there it is, snapped in, right in place. You say these are not the prettiest guns, and they don't always fit, you know, perfectly flush like a $1,000 revolver would. But they're really good for what they cost. And the reverse on the hammer. Pull the hammer back, or pull your trigger back, slide the hammer in, line up the holes. Take your pin, slide it down in, and make sure that it's either flush or just a little below flush. Now the trigger, or the grip, holds that pin in so it don't move out. I'll show you when I get it back together. And then just let it go. Now, you put the hammer strut back in. Make sure that these teeth right here are towards the muzzle. And get it out of the hole there. Set it in. Make sure those teeth are going towards the muzzle, and they're sitting on these two platforms. And I hold it, cock the hammer, take your paper clip back out, and there it is. When you take your grip, and as you can see, the grip slides up over top the hammer pin so it can't fall out. Put your screw back in. Now, like I said, Ruger is not a it's not a Colt. Well, for some reason I don't want to go in. So let's find out why. That's why. This grip has a slot in here for this to go in. Now, as you can see, I missed that slot. There we go. Again, screw it down now. And what I was going to say, Ruger is not Colt, Smith & Wesson. Like this screw here, the head of it is not the best, the cleanest. It's something that you can do yourself, which I'll show you in the next video, how to clean some of this stuff up. And I will also show you how to smooth some things out. The hammer, the strut, makes it a little easier to cock, a little easier to do the single action. You just smooth things out. It's not taking a whole bunch of metal off. It's just kind of polishing things up with 600 grit wet dry sandpaper. But that's the gist of it right there. Like I said, this thing's built like a tank. It is a favorite of mine because it is so heavy built. The frame is big, If you look at some of the other revolvers out there, the frames are like half the thickness of this in here. So it would only be, you know, about this thick, which lets it stretch. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of frame stretch or any of that, but it can do that, especially on the heavier loads like the 357 mags and the 44 and the 41s. If you don't have a good heavy frame, it can actually shift. And when it does that, you're pretty much done. You throw the gun away and get a new one. But anyway, that's the way it is. It's everything runs smooth. So next time I will share a little bit on how to clean it real good after you've fired it a few times, and a little bit of smoothing of the parts inside. All it does is dress it up. It's not getting in there and filing out large amounts of metal. It's just enough to shine it, make it a little bit bright. So thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Remember, we love you all, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.